With everything that is happening in the world right now, like policies filled with hatred rising within our communities, anger echoing in every single corner of the internet, and whispers of war and recession haunting us in our dreams, I can't help myself but wonder, is evil the true nature of humanity, or is there any goodness within us whatsoever? Hello, my gorgeous viewers and readers. I hope your weekend was filled with warm coffee cups and gloomy revelations about the true nature of humanity. I just finished reading East of Eden and I feel as if I've been run over by a truck. My God, this book is a revelation. It's profound, it's philosophical, it's gloomy, it's so depressing, and I can't wait to tell you why. For those who haven't read the book, East of Eden is a retelling of the biblical story of Cain and Abel, told throughout 3 generations of 2 families, the Hamiltons and the Trusks in Salinas Valley in California. At the heart of the story, we have Adam Trask, who not only is the main character, but is also a very kind and very gullible man, and his own brother, Charles, who not only is viewed as evil by everyone around them, but also gathers a lot of jealousy from Adam because Adam is their father's favorite. When their father dies, they both inherit a small fortune, and whereas Charles decides to stay in the farm and keep working on this farm as his father commanded him to do, Adam decides to start a new life in Salinas with his new wife, Kathy, who is a woman who seems very kind and fragile, but is actually cruel inside. Even though Kathy doesn't really want to move to Salinas, she decides to follow Adam just for her to immediately betray him and abandon him with his 2 newborn sons, Aaron and Cal, and leaving Adam just hollow and broken. After some time and with the guidance of his friend Sam Hamilton and his servant Lee, Adam manages to pull through and become a father figure for his 2 twins, for Aaron and Cal, and manages to see his sons struggle with the eternal questions of love, guilt, morality, and sibling jealousy. And the 2 brothers become these 2 biblical figures of Cain and Abel, who are still struggling with the same rhetoric and with the same question. And they are destined to repeat the sins of their fathers, of Adam, of Charles, and even their grandfathers as well, unless they can break the cycle. And throughout all of these, John Steinbeck, the author, actually poses us with one question. Are we ruled by the darkness we inherit, or is there anything we can do to choose differently? As someone who studies both human and animal behavior, I can tell you for a fact that this is the million-dollar question in our sector, right? We can never agree, or we can never get to a consensus to what is evil, or if humans are actually evil, or we are neutral, or what can we do about it, or where does this evilness come from, right? But what I can tell you about it is, where does John Steinbeck think evilness comes from, and also what we can do about it. Is there anything we can do to change? Let me tell you what he thinks. The first thing that I see in the book that not many people talk about is how generational trauma is the key for everything that happens in the book, right? We see how amongst 3 generations, evilness is passed down from father to child, right? And it is because we see how this generational trauma and this favoritism and all of these actions that the fathers have against the children are actually passed down from generation to generation. We see how pain, neglect, favoritism are actually inherited from generation to generation, right? It starts with Adam and Charles. We see how this is the first clear reflection of favoritism and abuse and neglect, right? Because Cyrus, both Charles and Adam's father, he very clearly prefers Adam. He has a seemingly personal vendetta against Charles because he sees himself in him, in his son. And this echoes the biblical story of Cain and Abel, right? We see how God very clearly favored Abel, because not only he was a shepherd, but also he had the Christian values that God preferred, right? Leaving Cain on the side and also making Cain jealous because he was rejected by his father, by God, by the figure that he revered so much, right? This is something that happens to Charles exactly to a T, right? We see how even though he hasn't really done anything at the start, or at least he hasn't done anything publicly, and Adam has forgiven everything that Charles has done against him, Charles is still not forgiven by his own father. And also we see how Adam, even though he is the favorite, he doesn't want this favoritism. He just wants to get along with his family, with Cyrus and with Charles, something that Cyrus doesn't let him do, right? He doesn't want Adam to be with Charles or to be friends or friendly with Charles because he thinks that the evil that Charles has will also imprint on Adam. And this seed of neglect, abuse, and jealousy seeps through to the next generation with Aaron and Carl, right? Because even though Adam, he is better than Cyrus at parenting, he's still not the best of fathers, right? He is at the start very neglectful, but also slowly grows into their children, like his children's life, right? But we see that there is also a very clear favoritism, not only from Adam, but also in general. We see how Carl is detested. He is not accepted within his society or within his peers, but also Adam seems to clearly favor Aaron. And even, for example, Lee, the servant, also seems to favor Aaron at the start, even though he still has a connection with Carl. Carl, just like Charles, struggles with this sense of jealousy, with this guilt that he has of hating but also loving his brother, and the feeling of being evil and being bad by nature. That is something that he really struggles with. Even though Aaron loves him, even though he knows that at the end of the day, he's still loved by his own father and by Lee as well, he still feels like there is something wrong with him, that he is unloved because of this initial and very clear favoritism towards Aaron. This allegory brilliantly shows us how emotional neglect and uneven love actually seep through generations, not through blood or genes, but actually through learned behavior. And this generational trauma becomes a curse that individuals of each generation have to choose. Either we keep repeating the same behaviors, or we actually unlearn all these learned behaviors and become something better. Another topic that I very clearly see in this book is a discussion of the true nature of the human soul, right? Are we good or are we evil? And at its core, this book is actually a discussion of human morality. We see how all these characters are either good or are evil. They are very binary, right? There is no, at the start of the book, there is no character that seems to be truly neutral, right? We see, for example, how Lee, he refuses to lie because he thinks that lying is evil, or has like this sort of cowardly and selfish image that he cannot deal with. Or we see how Adam is planted as this good-natured soul, or same as Aaron, and then Charles and both Charles and Carl are actually true spirited, evil spirited, right? We see how there's a polarizing balance over here, and we see how they both, good and evil, constantly fight for power. Even Kathy, who seems to be presented as this embodiment of evil because she is sadistic and she just wants to see the world burn, she actually is the one that makes all the characters face their true internal turmoil, right? Even Sam, who is the actual embodiment of goodness, he actually becomes like momentarily evil when he meets Kathy or when he is with Kathy alone, right? Because she is the one that holds the mirror to everyone, who actually shows that there is evil everywhere, with Aaron, with Adam, with Charles, with everyone. And then Sam, on the other side, he is the one that presents the mirror of goodness to everyone else, right? He is the one that shows that there is good around the world. To Adam, for example, and even to everyone else, he is the true embodiment of goodness. But at the end of the day, he can also still be evil, especially when he meets Kathy. What I find really interesting about this book is the fact that all characters are constantly fighting with their inner selves. They are fighting with their insecurities, right? We see it with Adam, for example, Cal, or even Lee. He is the one that is also fighting against this natural evilness, right? They are constantly questioning whether their goodness is something that is natural from them or within themselves, or this is something that they have to always fight for. They are naturally evil and they have to fight for the goodness to come out, right? And this is something that I find very interesting, because I find Lee, for example, the servant, I find him as this deeply caring character who deeply cares about Adam and the children and the twins. And he is very inviting, but he is still a character that at the end of the day fights against his own evilness. More specifically, he is the one that relates to Carl the most, right? He is constantly trying to pull him out of this darkness and try to bring him to the light. But at the end of the day, he is still fighting with this darkness. And this is why the last topic is actually the most important topic of the book, which is the word Timsho, which means thou mayest. In the book, we see how this word actually appears over and over again within the story in different points in time to show that at the end of the day, you still have to choose. You are not either evil or good. You still have to make the option, and you will have to choose some way or another. Timsho represents the idea that no matter what darkness you carry inside, you still have the option to do good, right? It doesn't matter how evil your human nature is, if you are jealous or if you are sadistic or if you have these latent voices inside your head that allow you to do evil, you still have the option to do good. And that is the main point of the story, that at the end of the day, you are only evil if you do evil things. You still have the option to do good, and that is what you should strive for. You should strive to be good. Also, something that I find really interesting is the fact that even though this word Timsho means you should or you could, for Kao, actually, Timsho means salvation. It means that even though he is evil, or even though he makes all these same mistakes that his grandfather and his father did, he can still choose to be good. And he is putting all his effort to be better, to break the curse, to break the generational curse that is around his family, because he wants to be different. He wants to be like his brother, because his brother was naturally good. As someone whose special interest is religion and human morality, I can tell you for a fact that I absolutely love this book. Not only because it shows, it's a retelling of the biblical story of Cain and Abel, but also because it sheds a new perspective on the story, right? In the Bible, we see how Cain and Abel are these two very static figures. One of them is evil, one of them is good, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? But in this story, we see how both and evil can be mixed, right? We see how at the end of the day, there is nothing as true goodness or true evilness. We all have a little bit of everything, but it's in our power to decide what we want to do, right? This book is a mirror, right? We see very clearly how even though the characters can do evil things or can do good things, at the end of the day, we are all human and we all make mistakes. We all have the opportunity to change and be different. And maybe this is the most important message of the story, and it's that even in the darkest corners of the human soul, there can still be light. Because at the end of the day, if we have the power to choose, we can still choose hope. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And before we leave this for today, I have a question for you guys. Do you think that the human soul is naturally evil? Do you think it is naturally good? Or do you think there is a mix between both good and evil? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know your opinion. And if you have liked this video, please make sure that you like it below here and that you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content. You can also follow me on my social media. I post that every day. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.